chat is the extra dimensional crisis meta. Extra dimensional crisis? What meta are we in? A4 Wisdom of Sea and Sky. I have all the decks that have been like kind of doing really good in tournament and in ranked, and I'm going to rank them. We no longer will have a YouTube content. Instead, this is called 1450 Master Ball Hell, because it's pretty easy now to make Master Ball for quite a few players, right? And now you cannot get drop out. So what is a 1450 Master Ball Hell example? Macargo. This deck is awful. This deck is not good. This deck can make it out of Ultra Ball, but any deck can make it out of Ultra Ball. However, this is something that you'll see at low Master Ball. So this is, as I said, this is the 1450 Master Ball Hell. You know who's going to join Macargo in the 1450 Master Ball Hell? Executor Will. And I'm going to talk about both of these decks. Macargo is better Wug Trio. Wug Trio with less steps, but it is fine. You can make Ultra Ball with these decks, Master Ball. Some of you guys have probably made Master Ball with these decks. If you guys want to climb to the upper echelons of this game, you will not be doing it with Macargo. I don't know who needs to tell you this. You will not be doing it with Macargo. Similarly, you will maybe do it with Eggy. In fact, I think Eggy is better. I think that this deck is way better than Macargo. It has a added benefit of having a good matchup into Darkrai, but this is still a 1450 Master Ball Hell. Apologize to Macargo Stream 1, maybe one day. I'm not. I'm focused on the World Championships, therefore I wouldn't include. I'm not really focused on hitting high ranks in Master Ball anymore. Not this season at least, but next season we're gonna go for rank 1. But for now, 1450 Master Ball Hell is your Eggy and is your Macargo. It would also be your Typhlosion Xatu, right? Instead of YouTube content, it's the stuff that people really think would work. And these are these guys, right? You're breaking my heart. I'm sorry. It has to be there. S is gonna be just the best decks, right? These are gonna be, and I'm gonna spoil it. I think that the best deck in this current meta, and it's unfortunately Darkrai Giratina. I don't know how to say it. It's the best deck in the meta. It's like actually laughable. Sabrina, I mean, Silver has like put this deck over the edge. Like it isn't like the fact that it's just consistent now. It's the fact that it's consistent and it's like a demon, right? If we go to look at like some Darkrai Giratina results, Silver has just made it. You can now Silver away Luzamine. You can Silver away Professor Researches. You can Silver away Lilies. Silver is just ridiculous. And also it farms Espeon, right? So Espeon's a newer deck. It deals with all the bullshit, right? If you're playing against bullshit decks like, for example, Macargo, you're just gonna usually beat them, right? You attach your. There is nothing as strong right now as setting up 2 threats, and Darkrai Tina is the best deck that sets up 2 threats at the same time, making this the best deck. This is gonna be the ceiling, right? But there are multiple top tier decks, right? It doesn't matter that Darkrai Giratina is the best deck. There's just multiple ones, and we're going to talk about all of them. And there are a lot of really, really fun Darkrai variants that I want to talk about. The first one being Dark Tyrogue. Dark Tyrogue, if you're unfamiliar with this list, is basically Darkrai Pichu. It has things like the Icicles, Follow. Thank you very much. Let me find Darkrai. A few of these have done okay in tournaments. This is going to be Kronos. Actually played it and got top 32 at a tournament. This is going to be... I don't like this version. Kronos, why are you using Absol? But it's going to be these Darkrai, Tyrogue, Pichu, or Choreo variants that are going to be really good. New Matanal was like one of the first people using it. And I think it's just a really strong team. I think what it does is really cool. It one-shots EVs. which is huge. Found it. Darkrai Pichu. Really, really strong deck. Really cool. I think it was great early. It's very fast, very turbo. The only issue with this deck is starts, right? Sometimes you're gonna like it doesn't have 100 is like a very low finish. I'm gonna say what this meta has done and what A4 has really done is given us like a low damage floor and a high damage ceiling, right? We have things like Lugia, and then we have things like Darkrai dealing like 80. Darkrai is insane this first week. It's like actually insane. So this is like a tier like 3. I'll call this so like I'll say this is like tier 1, right? The best decks tier 1. This is like tier like 3. Pull the right matchups. Avoid Darkrai. You will be fine. A lot of these decks lose to Darkrai is the issue, right? Pull the right matchups, avoid Darkrai, you'll be fine. Unfortunately, that is going to be the situation for a lot of these decks. A lot of these decks are going to want to avoid Darkrai, otherwise you get into the unskippable cutscene of losing. You get to the defeat screen. Tier 2 here is going to be like capable of handling the best decks, only have like a flaw, if any, right? And that's gonna be, I guess, the next deck I want to talk about is Charizard Sylveon. Charizard Sylveon got weaker, actually. There are multiple decks that deal with it now. Some Buzzwole decks are teching Sprinkle, and Silver kind of destroys it, right? So like if you look at tournament results right now, Charizard is not doing good. I farmed Char with Oricorio. I would hope that you farmed Charizard with Oricorio, because if you didn't, I would be very concerned. It has a lot more losing matchups, is the issue. However, it's still Charizard, right? Hanamon did really good with this version. I remember they lost because they didn't pull Flareon, or they said something similar to that. So she like locked in. I think this is still a good deck. Its only flaw is that it's a if you don't beat Darkrai, it's a 15-minute cutscene, as they will wait. Yes, exactly what Sekiro said. Congrats, by the way, for doing so good, Sekiro. Getting top 2 is really good. And thank you, Hang, for the follow. So yeah, basically this is really good still. However, it's not as good as it was. I would say this was a top 2 deck, maybe top 1. The issue is any deck can run Silver. And if a deck runs Silver and Silver's away your Lily, you lose so much value. You're not guaranteed 2 Lilies throughout the course of a run. And I love that. You're still running Garchomp and Rampardos. That's sick. I would put that like tier 4 if I had to put it anywhere. Charizard is disruptible. That's literally how I've been beating Zards. I just take away the Lily. Yeah, every deck can run Silver. And therefore Silver is actually giving Charizard some stress, right? Let's talk about a deck that I owe an apology, right? Let's talk about a deck that I owe an apology to. It is Sylveon Espeon. I called Espeon not going to be good, right? Look, everybody called Espeon. This isn't me owing an apology. Everybody who ever looked at Espeon next to Umbreon said that Espeon wasn't going to be good, right? Everyone that said it said Espeon wasn't going to be good. However, Espeon has an amazing matchup chart, and it turns out healing 60 damage is a lot of damage to heal from, right? Is a ton of damage to heal from. And it's really cool to see this be what I would say it's a free Lily every turn. Exactly what Spastic Temmer said. I think that this deck is really strong. However, it does have some very, very, very crucial bad matchups. And that matchup is going to be Gira Darkrai. It's going to be basically any deck that can also deal massive damage. And when I think of decks that deal massive damage, I think of decks like Flareon, Leafeon, but it does good into all of the old meta stuff, right? It also does good into Charizard, right? Charizard is a deck that is going to get farmed by it. Well, he's going to get farmed unless you have double Giant Cape. My thing is, this is a week 1 tier list. I expect a lot of people to start running Guzma. A lot of Espeon Sylveon players like Sakaru, I think even Sylar are currently Sakaru ran 1 cape. Oh, you guys are both running 1 cape. I'm a double cape guy. I think that the cape is really, really good, but that's all that the Espeon Sylveon players have against like the major damage people. Shout out 5Z for the Fallerino. So that is my current where I'm at mentally. Is one, it still loses to Dartina, which is really unfortunate, but it has amazing matchups into the old meta, specifically Sylveon Greninja, right? Bro, why does everyone put Sylveon as tier 2 instead of tier 1? I know it's bad versus Dartina, but it's so strong on its own. Yes, here's the thing, right? I think that this, if players wanted really to win, there would only be one deck that they'd be using right now. And it's like high-key Darkrai. The issue with this deck is that it struggles into decks with massive damage. I don't think, like the Darkrai matchup is that bad. In fact, I think it's so bad, I don't know if I will have another deck. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to do this. If this will make you feel better, this is S tier. S tier is Darkrai. I can lie to you guys and put this as tier 1. And this could be tier 2. Because I think Darktina is that strong. I think Darkrai Giratina is undisputed the best deck right now. And that's it. It's not tier 0. It has bad matchups. But it is so far ahead of the other decks. S-Rank is tier 0, I guess. We'll figure it out. The next deck I do want to talk about is Buzzwole, right? I do think that Buzzwole, in my mind, I thought it was the best deck going into the first tournament. However, it turns out Espeon is really good at dealing with them, right? It is really, really good at dealing with them. And so I think that this deck, and also the Darktina is in his LeBron era. No, literally. This is like the Miami Heat era of LeBron right now. It's like so clearly just better than every deck. Kind of laughably. I think that Silver made it just that much better. Because Silver outplays, like, Buzzwole, Celesteela can now get Silvered out of Lusamine late game, and you just lose the game, right? Similar, Zard can get Silvered out of Lily. Darktina's good, but when I play it, I mean, you're going to brick. Every deck bricks. What makes Buzzwole decent right now? Yeah, of course, I'll talk about it. It's good into the best deck, Darkrai Giratina. It also has, like, pretty playable matchups into everything. It has a lot of high HPs. It's good going first, good going second because of Lusamine. It's very susceptible to whatchamacallit? It's very susceptible to hand rip. But other than that, it does really, really good into that. It's good into Oricorio decks, too. Farms Oricorio decks. It really likes playing against Sylveon Crobat, which is also another deck that we'll talk about soon. Darktina now runs Red Card, Mars, and Silver. It's a bit oppressive, yeah. Charizard is down. Thank you, Elizabeth on the YouTube side. Charizard down, Buzzwole is up. Charizard is not a high pop deck as it was. And now because Darkrai is like running Silver, Red Card, Mars, it is like pretty like big, like when I think of a deck up there. A deck that I thought was going to be really, really strong, but has actually not been as strong is Crobat Sylveon. I think Crobat Sylveon is fine. I don't think it's great, is the issue. Why is Charizard down? Silver. The universal access to Silver, the universal access to cards that hate it. No one has Crobat right now. That is not why Crobat is not good. Crobat actually struggles because it doesn't have a high damage ceiling. It can donk you. It's good into Charizard. Yeah, so other people are, why is Charizard down? Crobat farms Zard as well. So Crobat's really good into Zard. And that's about it. It's like kind of okay into Sylveon. The issue is it's good at donking like a lot of things. Crobat is just a turn too slow, which is kind of crazy, right? Because it deals 70, it deals 80 in a turn. If you aren't starting off the Rare Candy engine every game, which is not realistic, you get so behind so many turns. Yeah, exactly what Elena also said. Crobat Sylveon just suffers if you don't open Crobat early. You don't open Crobat early, you might as well be scooping. Which is not consistent, right? And it gets destroyed by Darktina. And it touches the glass, and that's the issue. I had to do my own research on decks. Where were you, Fraud? I was literally enjoying a day in Seattle. So I'm sorry you guys had to figure out what decks you guys wanted to use. And because Crobat is down, that means Donphan's also a little bit weaker. I think Donphan's still good. Donphan has the added benefit of donking babies. Has the benefit of donking Eevee. And that is where Donphan is really, really good at. I'm up with both Donphan versions. They're both the same to me. They're both really good. But the issue is that the deck that they're supposed to hard counter isn't as strong as everyone thought. Therefore, there's less of it, which means that there's going to be less Donphan, which sucks for people who are Donphan fans, right? Ends up not doing too good. Obviously, it did good the first tournament. And why did it do good the first tournament? A lot of the decks that people were using were Oricorio based. There's a lot of people still believing in Crobat, right? It was the second most used deck, so it makes sense. And so Donphan is suffering from its matchup spread not being great, at all. And that sucks. It's a Don phase. But shout out to all the Don fans. Any real Don fan in chat, y'all know who you are. But yeah, its matchup spread is just kind of sad. Yeah, I did get them, Afraid. Thank you. Darktina is S tier. It's Silver has broken Darktina. So that is why I just think that there's no other deck that is kind of comparable. And I think I might have to obviously move some tier 1 decks. I'm going to be honest. There are going to be decks I'm going to move up to tier 1. But if I are up to S tier, but here's my issue, is if I move certain decks up there, they're not even as close to as strong as Darkrai Tina. The only deck that could compare to being close to the same level as Darktina is Greninja Sylveon, right? Greninja Sylveon is still a top meta threat. It is still extremely consistent. It is still extremely ignorant. But it's not the only Sylveon slop that is consistent, right? Espeon is really good matchup into it. Greninja's matchup spread isn't as wide and overarching as Darktina, but it's better into Oricorio decks. It's way, way better into Oricorio decks, and that's where the Sylveon Greninja deck really shines. Make an S plus tier for Darktina. That's probably what it's going to be. These decks are clearly really good decks. I'm not going to point out that these are really, really good decks. And obviously we're going to have to create. I'm 20-2 versus Greninja Syl with Espeon. Yeah, Greninja Syl gets farmed by Espeon. It's pretty sad. In fact, these two decks do get farmed by Sylveon, which is where Espeon Sylveon is so good. Darktina uses 1 silver or 2, probably 1. You can use 2 if you want though. But still really, really cool. Here's what I'm gonna put for tier 3. Because tier 3 is not as strong as the ones above. But they have a lot of sauce. And if you have the right bracket, will go crazy. But I'm thinking 1 or 2 in the top 64 at most. Obviously some of these are not gonna be this is 0 to 1s. 0 to 1s that I should talk about and should mention. And the 0 to 1s that I should mention are, I'm going to put the big damaging Arceus and Dragonite. These two decks are Pichu slop decks. Dragonite has the added benefit of having a great matchup into Darkrai Giratina. Whereas Arceus is just a turbo deck. It's really fun. These might they're not that strongest, I think, compared to every other deck. But they have very specific matchups where they are good. Ho-Oh Snorlax. If I had Ho-Oh Snorlax, I'll put Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is also kind of there. Ho-Oh Lugia, Ho-Oh Snorlax are still tier 3. They have a lot of sloths. If you have the right bracket, it's going to be good. But that's as far as I can go with them. That's as far as I'm willing to go with these type of decks. They're not that great, unfortunately. Ho-Oh suffers from... I think any of the like decks that really rely on babies to like speed up your game are like kind of inherently inconsistent. Like these are like very like if you draw Arceus, you're like, oh, this sucks. The reason why Darkrai Tyrogue is so good is because like what Tyrogue does to like the top, like some of the top EV slop decks, that makes it deserve where it's at. Similarly, right, I think that the issues with these decks is the deck construction right now, and it sucks. I think what I'm gonna do, there's gonna be one more tier, and it's gonna be the 1.5. These are gonna be like solid into Dark Tina, but not as strong as the big four above it. And these, but better than the decks below it. And this, bros tier sounding like new anime titles. Reborn as a vending machine, I now wander the dungeon. Shut up! Ah! Yeah, like these are how I'm just gonna like, we're gonna define them later. We can define them later, but the way I think about this is gonna be Tapu Koko. This is gonna be basically the the Oricorio tier. I'm not gonna hold you. This is gonna be called the Oricorio tier. It's just these decks. I think that these decks are not that great. I'm gonna be honest. I think in the context of the meta, especially with Charizard being weaker now, these decks are a lot weaker. However, they are way better than these decks. However, they also lose to all of the decks below here. So it's like kind of like freaky. Open your mind on tier 1.5. So like, it's gonna, but like, can you make the tier names more complicated? Of course. Andy, what's good? We're currently just making a tier list. Is Zard rising up a little again? Zard has a lot of hate. Whereas before Zard was a top 2 deck, it has a lot of hate. And I guess the thing that I want to talk about when we're thanking Andy the Salad God for the gifted, thank you very much. The thing I really, really want to talk about, some of these rankings have too much bias. You want to talk about which ones have too much bias? Because I think that this is just true. Like, I think that, like, for a tournament, legitimately, if I'm going to a tournament, yeah, I think it's just Ori tier. We can just call this Ori tier. I think that Ori sucks. I think that like, in tournament, the top 5 decks are the actual decks you want to use if you want to like consistently win. Whereas everything else, I think, is very matchup dependent. I think the top 5 decks have the best matchups. And to include another deck that I think belongs there is Leafeon Flareon. I think that these are the decks. The bias against Macargo is crazy. Some of them are up and down. That's fair. I think at the end of the day, it's important to note that this is like my opinion, right? And I think that like the way I rate decks, I'm very clear on what I think is like really, really strong. Ori sucks. Ori doesn't suck. It's like, it's literally the second highest tier if you ignore Darkrai, right? I think it's like this, right? I think that Flareon Leafeon is really good, especially in a format with Zard. Its worst matchup is dropping because it has like a very similar matchup, right? It's very good into Buzz. It's good into Gren. It has playable lines into Darkrai Tina. It has playable lines into the Ori stuff. Obviously not the best lines. Macargo is not meta. Macargo is not meta. That is real. Macargo is 1450 Master Ball Hell. I'm gonna just say it. People are sleeping on Incin. Right now, I'd put Incin right here. It has a lot of sauce, but like it's like I respect it, but I just think that compared to the other decks, it's not as good. And that's fine for people. Macargo is the new Articuno 18 trainers, which is Macargo is tier 0 only against streamers. I just played one, and it was not the case, right? It was 100% not the case. A deck that I do believe in that I want to see more of is Arceus Crobat. Arceus Crobat, like Crobat EX, is probably what I think is one of the strongest Arceus variants. I think I'll put it in tier 3 because I still don't fully believe in it, but I do think it's like a strong Crobat variant that can overtake the Sylveon slop ones. Usually there's going to be Arceus, Crobat, probably still have Sylveon, but it has Crobat and Crobat EX because they're both 1 energy attackers that deal 80, except obviously it adds up. The Dex issue is Zubat, right? It's unfortunately the real issue is that you can only have 2 Zubats, you can have 4 Eevees. If you could have 4 Zubats, I would put this deck up here. Like, even maybe up here. Rocking Carnivine, no Carns. Just dark. It's just dark. And, like, 3 to 4 Crobats. 3 to 4 Crobats, and then, like, Arceus stuff. I think this deck is, like, solid. However, it's just, you can't run 3 Zubats. If you can run 3 Zubats, it'll be up here. Because then you can do Crobat EX, Crobat, Crobat, and that'd be, like, really, really deadly. But it has a built-in Oricorio counter in Crobat. And then it has the Arceus stuff, which is like really strong. I don't feel like it's worth opening packs this time after you get some babies. It is a weaker set, but I think it's a very, like, the cards that were introduced were great for the game. Shuckle Venu might be the worst deck in the game. Probably, dude. Let's just get through some other cards. Skarmory is 1450's Master Ball Hell for now. I did make a video recently. That was my last video. It has a lot of issues. Skarmory 18 Trainers has a lot of issues in that it's still good in tournament. We've seen a few people top 64, but actually the best way to do it, the best way to compare this, Skarmory is 1450's Master Ball Hell, and it mitigates 70. But Espeon heals 60 every turn. So like Espeon, like if you are a Skarmory player, consider just playing Espeon Sylveon. What does Master Ball Hell mean? So you can't drop out of Master Ball. So because you can't drop out of Master Ball, you're gonna see some of the worst decks possible in here. Like Gyarados, there's a Gyarados, you're gonna see Gyarados in 1450's Master Ball Hell. So instead of YouTube content, this is just the stuff that you're gonna experience. How does Espeon heal 60? Because you Espeon, you heal, you switch into Espeon, you heal. Espeon heals 60. That's the broken part of it. That's why we weren't considering it, right? That is why people really weren't considering it. Where is Solgaleo? That's actually a good ass question. Where is Solgaleo? Because Solgaleo does good into Gren, does good into Buzzwole, and should do good into Espeon. But it hasn't been doing as good because there's a lot of Oricorio. This is the difference of these decks, is that they can deal with Ori. So I am going to put it right where the namesake is, right? Pull the right matchups, avoid Darkrai, you'll be fine. It's a good deck. Also, can I just say it? Tier 2 isn't a bad deck. Can I say that in traditional card games, a tier 2 deck is not bad by any means. Like, I think that's what I'm going to start. A tier 2 deck is not bad. Is this for single deck format or double deck? I've been telling people, Ursi, if you guys don't know why she's asking that, right? If you go to tournaments, actually, I can just go to my dashboard. Ursi is hosting a $10,000 double deck, which is going to be the format for the World Championship Open. You're going to be submitting 2 decks, and you're playing, obviously, even up to top 32 gets 100. First place gets 1,500. Really insane. I actually have a question, Ursi, since you're here. Are we able to submit 2 decks here? Or are they gonna change it as we get closer to the event? Oh wait, day 1 is single deck? I didn't realize. So day 1 is single. Wait. What? Am I reading this? Hold up. It's at day 1, we can only submit 1 deck right now. Okay. And then day 2 will be double deck. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So day 1 will be standard. Day 2, if you are able to make day 2, you will be able to play in the double deck format, which is the same format as the World Championships. Which, if people are tired of the Sylveon slot meta, I tried to get Robin to put it in back end, but sadly it isn't on time. That is fair. I know that you were talking about that NAIC. What does that mean, though? I think this is important to talk about. So you see, like, these decks that all have Sylveon. In a double deck format, you cannot use them. You can't use Espeon Sylveon and Greninja Giratina because they both share Sylveon. So you'd have to choose one deck. And that's really cool. So I'm very excited to see how that tournament goes. Register if you haven't. Don't be a stinky. It's hella badass. I hope that it is going to be the future of Pocket. When Limitless adds it, I will be hosting a tournament too. But that makes sense, RC. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, Darktino plus the second deck. Can I get the link? Of course you can get the link. Here, I'll post it in here and I'll post it in YouTube. No, only Pokemon. Trainers, you can have unlimited of the same trainers. So it's a conquest format, yeah. No, because they share the same name, so you can't run Eevee Collect a Friend and Eevee Find the Friend. Those are still the same name Pokemon. But yeah. Other than that, back to... You can run Eevee in one deck and Eevee, yes, exactly what Arsu said. But you can run Eevee and Eevee EX in a different deck because they're two separate names. But you can't run Eevee Genetic Apex and Eevee Grove. No, trainers and supporters you can run in both decks, which is really cool. And it's no entry fee. It's as easy as clicking the registration button. Flareon Leafeon is not tier 1 in ranked. I think it is still tier 1 in ranked. I think what it does, it's good into Espeon Sylveon. Because the 130 damage is a lot of damage. I think it's good into Buzzwole. I think it's good into Gren Sylveon, which is a lot of the ranked decks, right? A lot of the ranked decks has a playable matchup. Yeah, I want you to know I wasn't going to play in the RC Day this weekend. I have a friend coming in, like I was not going to play in it. But the double deck, I'm like, I have to. And so I've been hooked. Yeah, I think it's really just talking about this like if we look at even here, it was picking up especially after week 1, blah blah blah. We go to the meta game, right? Eevee Box kind of slapped. It was the third most deck here with a 56% win rate. I think that Flareon Leafeon is a good deck. Also, Yumin, hello, welcome. So yes, I think that Flareon Leafeon belongs in this tier of decks. What if I want to play 2 different decks day 1? Can I, or is it mandatory to have one day 1 deck and day 2? I think the rules, they're because the judges are going to have overhead, they'll figure it out. Guzzlord disappeared from the game. No, I'll talk about Guzzlord. Guzzlord is, if I was to put, I think it's like tier 1.5 Ori tier plus Guzz. Because Guzz is still good. However, and I think it's still good into Espeon, which is a matchup that we want to see more of. Guzz is pretty good right now. So I think it's just below. Its best matchup isn't as much in the meta, is my current problem with it. Its best matchup isn't in the meta. Well, it is in the meta, but it's not as prevalent. And because Buzzwole Celesteela is way more prevalent now, that's the issue that it has. Whereas Infernape Magby, that is 1450 Master Ball health. You guys get it? This is hard to put Gren. I think this deck is also really good. I think this deck is like also good. I'm going to put this deck in Ori tier. This is Simon's deck. This is Simon Nobi. This is the Greninja or Ikorio stuff. I think it's the weakest deck in this tier. But I think it's the deck with the best matchup into Darktina. It's the Oricorio deck with the best matchup into Darktina. And therefore, it should be a deck that we consider in matchups. So that's going to be tier 1.5, Ori tier plus Guzz. I went AO against Espeon using Guzzlord. Yes. Espeon gets absolutely farmed. Is that an Irida deck? Yes. This deck runs Irida. So that is why this deck farms. It's the, like, people forgot Darkrai Giratina used to lose to Ori. Darkrai Giratina actually used to lose to Ori, but you guys started removing all the cards that beat it. You guys, everyone took away all the cards that beat Darkrai Tina, and then their Ori decks are starting to lose to Dark Tina, and they're like, whoa, why are we losing to Dark Tina now? Because you guys freaking took out Guzma. You guys took out like so many cards, right? No heals, no capes, no nothing. And that's true what E977EA said, right? But that's where like the Ori decks with no healing, they have like their flaws. Guzma and Irida is the farm, is 100% a farm. This deck's weakness, Greninja Ori, it beats Dark Tina, it beats Buzzwole, it beats Zard, but then it loses to Ninja, it loses to, I think Espeon has a pretty solid time. If you can set up the Sylveon, if you can thank people like PokeKong. Is Meowscarada ever coming back? One day, maybe. Maybe. I'm gonna say maybe. But yeah, I think another tier like 2-ish deck. A tier 3 deck is the Silvally Blacephalon. I used this week 1. It was fun. However, there was just better pairings with Silvally. I think Silvally Babies, Silvally Darkrai is better than this. I think that the Blacephalon combo, while cute, it was great when Buzzwole was the #1 deck to beat. Buzzwole is no longer the #1 deck to beat. So I think it's just a deck that kind of belongs in tier 3, has a lot of sauce. I don't really see it doing too much past that. It was a great day 1 deck. So Sylve Darkrai Babies is not tier 1. I would put Sylve Darkrai Babies as tier 2, which would make sense. I think its problem is that while it's great into like all the decks with like EV Box in it, it does not do great against decks that have a lot of sustain, specifically Darkrai Tina, Buzzwole. These guys just hit way harder. Why is Buzzwole tier 1 and not S tier? It loses to Espeon, Sylveon. It loses to Flareon, Leafeon. These are decks that are all coming back up. And so like its matchup spread, even though it's the best deck out of the 5 here to play into Darkrai Gira, the other matchups can't be ignored. Yeah. Darkrai Tina just can't be stopped. It has bad matchups, but the issue is like, you know, it's just good into every, like, here's the thing, right? With Darkrai Gira and Tina, it's good into like everything. Like you can point out the bad matchup in Buzzwole, right? But it is good into everything in tier 2. Good into everything in tier 3. You can argue that Dragonite Pichu is a little bit too much. And you know, it's good into everything in Master Ball Hell, besides Executor. Dark Tina is just consistent where most decks are not. Yeah, and Silver. I'm saying that Silver has pushed Darkrai Giratina over the edge because Silver straight up takes away matchup cards, right? Like you can remove the Lily in a Charizard's hand, you can remove the Lusamine in a Buzzwole hand. It's just kind of ridiculous. You know, it's a deck that is, I'm gonna actually put in 1450 Master Ball Hell, and it's Tilly's favorite deck. It's Umbreon Greninja. It's actually the worst, one of the worst decks I played with this format so far. It is just a weaker version of Dark Baby when you think of decks that hit 80, like the cards that hit for 80. Unlimited Cyruses is cool, but it is really just like, kind of like Umbreon has been disappointing. The 2 retreat cost is awful. What are the new cards running in Dark Tina? Silver. Dark Baby was my nickname when I was born. That's crazy. So yeah, I got my second Umbreon EX today and low-key sad. I wish I had Espeons. I don't have Espeons. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the lack. I'm feeling the missing links. This is Crobat with no Sylveon, which I'm gonna put in tier 3 as well. I think this one's like slightly better. It's just what it is. Darkrai Silvally is also really good. That's gonna be the deck that I showcased on stream, on YouTube, not on stream, on YouTube today. It's a good deck. It just has, it's really fast if you get the Pichu start. I just think that the issue when I was playing it is, again, Dark Tina. Decks with like a lot of Pokemon with high HP is really hard to deal with, especially if they can get set up really fast. So like Buzzwole's obnoxious to deal with. If one of the EVs evolve, it can be like kind of annoying, but you can obviously overwhelm them pretty quickly. So this is where I'm gonna put Silvally Darkrai. It's really, really strong though. I think that these decks, these baby versions are really cool and have a lot of good matchups. See, here's my issue, right? All of these decks in tier 2 have their matchups that they love playing in like tier 1. The issue is that every single deck in tier 2 loses to Dark Tina. Every single deck in tier 2. In fact, that's what this is. Fine decks all lose to Dark Tina. And that is the issue when the metagame gets like wider, right? Is that they all lose to Dark Tina. This is Young Kai Blue. I might Pokekong. Well, yeah. I've been red card silvering everyone on ladder and so many people just auto forfeit. Yeah. People, like, I'm going to be real, Bobo. You need to just get out of low Master Ball. And if you're in high Master Ball, then if people are still doing that, they're dumb. But, like, red card silver is actually so obnoxious. Since the release of Dark Tina, have we had any deck better than this? Well, yeah. Dark Tina wasn't the best deck in Extra Dimensional Crisis, for example. It's just that the way that the meta has gone and evolved, Dark Tina has just been the best deck. Yeah, I like that. There's a reason I have a 1450s Master Ball Hell tier, because these are just people who are playing their whatever decks that are gonna forfeit, yada yada. I don't really have a place for Guzzlord. I mean, Guzzlord, this is just hair. I don't have an opinion on Magnezone Sylveon. No one's using this, right? So I don't really have a thought. No one's using Silvally Rampardos. Red card plus silver is dumb play. No. What I was telling him is that people were auto scooping to getting silver red carded in low elo, and like, yeah, I scooped my last game because I pokeballed into Magby, because there's no stakes in low master. You can just do that. Red card silver is just broken. Yeah, it's not week 3. Thanks for the answer. Yeah. Oh, whoever helped them. I'm gonna put this in. Wait for week 3 for Mag Zone's comeback. And this, like, yeah, like, who the freak is using Silvally Rampardos? I don't think I've seen a single silver Rampardos. Have you guys seen a silver Rampardos? I genuinely have not. And I don't even think it's bad, is the thing. I don't think it's bad. It's clearly, like, here if I'm putting Ori. But, like, it really is just not being used. Who goes in the active spot for starting Darkrai or Gira? It depends on the matchup. Depends on what you got. Dark Tina is without Psychic Energy. It's always been without because you need to attach it to Darkrai. Espeon Sylveon Mag is a week 3 deck. That is true. But for now, this is my thoughts on the tier list. Let me see if there's any rearranging I need to do. Do you watch Hasanabi? I do not. He's pretty chill though. I've watched like VODs, but I don't watch any really streamers. Is my issue. Except now I know all about Jakura. So if you want to talk to me about Jakura, I got you. But yeah, I think this is like a pretty fair assessment of the tier list right now. I think that Darkrai Giratina is just the best deck. I hope when we revisit this at the end of the month, I'm praying that there's another deck as dominant as Darkrai Giratina, or maybe that Darkrai Giratina is not that dominant. But because Darkrai Giratina literally farms like every single deck, almost, it's kind of crazy. Garchomp could be tier 3, sure, but like that's fine. Espeon, Sylveon, I think this deck is gonna get weaker. My honest thought is that Espeon Sylveon is going to get a lot weaker. But I think it's really good now. I think going into next week, people are going to start making counters. But I am fine calling it the second best deck to use right now. I'm pro. It's fun, Kiski. Whatever it is, I'm 29. I can't think about it being staged or real. But I will listen to a 2-hour video about it. I think Espeon will get weaker. I think that Greninja Sylveon is just immune to power creep, so it's always going to be really strong. Buzzwole Selly is the best deck to play if you're playing against Dark Retina, and White's always going to be good. Zard is the deck from the last set that got hit the most, and Flareon and Leafeon didn't get hit like Zard did. So it's still really good, and that's kind of where it's differentiating itself compared to Zard, where Zard just got really, really hit bad in this meta. Flareon and Leafeon still shares that matchup spread without being as hated. And that's the cool part. Flareon and Leafeon did really good in the last Froggy X too. What's the counter for Sylveon and Espeon besides Darktina? I hate this deck so much. Zard is going to be good into it. Flareon, I think, is going to be really good into it. Solgaleo. Any Darkrai deck is going to be good into it. Dark Tyrogue is going to be obnoxious into it, especially going second. So those are the decks, I think. Any Darkrai deck is going to be pretty strong. Darkrai Sylve is going to be pretty good. Guzzlord is going to be super good. I think Guzzlord usage is going to get a lot higher. Buzzwole, Selly, like I said, every deck in this is like, besides Guzzlord, I think that Oricorio decks are just weak. I think Oricorio decks are just weak, but they pull the right matchups and will sometimes win. And that's it. I feel like I would never willingly bring Oricorio to a tournament unless I really believed in its matchup spread. I do not believe in its matchup spread right now. And that is kind of where I'm at, where it comes to that. But you know, I got the Neasy Prime subs Greasy. Jeudy's Pocket Streams, hell yeah. Tier 2, these are all decks that are strong. I think that they're all good. The only issue with these decks is that they all lose to Darktina. I mean, it's going to be the thing for every deck down here. They all just lose to Darktina. And that's the issue. While you did the tier list, I lost 70 points using Darktina. Darktina, still need to lock in with it. These decks are all decks I think can be, like, you'll probably see one of these decks in a top cut of Ursi or like a big tournament. Only one, like 1 to 2 at most. Darktina kind of mid, doesn't have a 100% win rate, true. And that's where tier 3 sauce is. And then obviously 1450s, Master Ball Hell. I've explained it enough times. Wait week 3 for our Magnastone's comeback. And that is my tier list of all of these decks. Tier 1. All extremely consistent at what they do. They are just not Darktina. That's gonna be the new